outlines some reasons why you might invest in designing, constructing, and using a decision support system. Okay, now by the way, that word invest is really important. When you hear the word invest, what do you think of? Say it again. Yeah, that's right. Like, decision support systems, as with all systems, are not free. Okay, you got to put money. What else do you have to put? Time. These things don't just, you can't just click your fingers and have one. And also effort to make it, and then to use these kinds of systems also takes effort and money and time. Okay, so why bother? All right. Well, I've got 4 reasons for you. Not exhaustive, but it's sort of just a start, and they're the general most important reasons. Okay, so my first one is that often decisions require computation. Computation, as in, this thing that a computer does. Okay, so my example for this, when you're thinking about decisions, right? We have an organization, the government has an organization, called, does anyone know what it stands for? Very important today. The Bureau of Meteorology, right, which is all about weather prediction, okay? So they have to make some decisions on what forecasts they publish and, what they should say today and tomorrow and next week and all that kind of thing are going to be like this, right? Now, these guys, their job, we would say, is weather analysis, or if you like, weather prediction. Okay? And so, in order to predict the weather, this is not easy, right? They've got lots and lots of computing power that goes into, well, how do they predict weather? Does anyone know? What kinds of things do they need to know, and what kind of things do they try and work out?
Current weather.
Okay, so we say current weather. What does current weather mean? What does it say? What does it mean to say, I know what the weather is right now? Because I think knowing what the weather is more than saying it's raining or it's not raining. What other kinds of things? Let's be more specific. What do you need to know?
Pressure points.
Okay, so you need to know air pressure. You need to know humidity. Yeah. I think you're thinking of not meteorology, but acupuncture. Air pressure, humidity. What else? There's an obvious one you're missing. Is it cold or not? Temperature. Okay, that's usually the main one actually. Okay, now not just do they have to know all these things, right? But they have to take all these things and put them into large equations, very complicated equations that work out when all of these things interact with each other, right? And how do they produce weather in a particular area? Okay, so in other words, a computer has to sift through all this data and analyze it and apply all these algorithms to it, and it's very, very complex, and it's hard for humans to do. Okay, so when making a decision about weather prediction, we use decision support systems to help us, because this thing, which is hard for humans to do, computers are very, very good at, right? So we bring them in. Okay. Now, secondly, going after the same kind of thing, right? Air pressure, humidity, temperature. Okay. Where do you need to know, or how many places would you need to know air pressure, humidity, and temperature to be able to accurately gauge what the weather's going to be like, say in a city, say in Sydney. Think about that area. Okay, how many points, places, pressure points, locations do you think you'd need to know to be able to accurately predict? Yeah?
And the city around the outer ocean.
Yep, that's right. So not just on the land, right? But you've got to go out to sea, because the sea affects us significantly, and all the surrounding areas, like in the mountains, all that kind of thing. And what kind of density do you think you'd need? Do you think it'd be enough to have one per suburb? Would that be enough? Enough pressure points? Enough places where you know the temperature? What do you think? 1 per suburb, is that enough? I don't think it's nearly enough. I don't think it's nearly enough. Weather stations are everywhere. Okay, and to be able to know the weather in one suburb, you need to know, because a suburb is quite a large geographic space, right? So what I'm getting at is that not only do decisions here require lots of computation, but they just require lots of data, full stop. Okay, there's just lots and lots of information to take into account. All right. Now, can you see why I'm getting it? Why this helps us with understanding why we need decision support systems, right? Computers are really good at handling lots of data, whereas our brains kind of fizzle out after thinking about a finite amount of things. Okay, so we need computers to help us. Now let me give you, that was weather. I was just following on the previous example. Let me give you another one, a business example this time. Okay, so right now, at least, I think the rumors are that Apple's going to release a smart watch. That's the latest rumors at the moment. No prizes for guessing what it would be called. But anyway, one of the tricky things with Apple products, right, is that they get released globally, right? And at least they try to release them all around the same time, okay? Now, let's just try and put this on a scale of like 1 to 10. If Apple were to announce the iWatch today, okay? On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think the demand would be like? 1?
Yeah.
8?
5.
Kind of depends on how they sell it, right? I'm going to suggest, right? It's a whole new product category, right? It's been quite hyped as well, and it's Apple, for goodness sake, okay? People love Apple. Some people are going to line up for Apple things, not knowing anything about the products. It's just they want to have the next Apple thing, okay? Now, can you see how that poses a problem for Apple? Right? They're a global company. On the day that they actually start selling these things, right, there's going to be all of this demand, okay? So you're head of Apple, you're Tim Cook, you're sitting in Cupertino. What kinds of decisions do you have to make based on the fact that your product is going to have a global release? What do you think? What kinds of decisions? Yeah. Okay, number 1. How many do I make? Like, you can't sit around waiting for pre-orders, right? Because by that point, it's too late already. People are going to expect it, you know, if we order it on day 1, we want it to be ready, like maybe day 30 or something like that. Any longer, us consumers get very angry and we're like, where is our product? Okay. So that means Tim Cook has to start building them way in advance. Especially if he's building, like, what kind of scale are we talking about? We're talking about like dozens? Hundreds? How many do you think he's going to build?
1 million.
I think it's going to be in the multiple millions. Okay, you go look up the stats for how many iPhones that Apple sold last quarter. It's crazy. Okay. All right, now, how many is not the only question, because this is a global release, right? So what other questions do we have to think about? Okay, good. Now, the question of how many and where interact with each other, right? Because it's like, look, suppose we do our thinking about how many we're going to need worldwide, but then you have to work out, okay, do I put 5% here and 10% there and 35% here? How do you even make that choice, right? And then just to throw another spanner in the works, right? When do you schedule them to arrive? Right? Because I assume, as a supplier, you don't want to wait until some guys say, we're out of stock, can you build some more? Because it'll take way too long for them to actually get new stock in, to actually keep on getting sales pumping, all that kind of thing. So, you got all these different questions. How do you make a decision like that, right? Upon which billions of dollars rides? Well, the answer is, you need to know a lot. You need to be able to accurately predict, this area, they buy such and such an amount of our products on a quarterly basis, right? These guys sell them this quickly, so that's when I know how quickly I have to send them new stock, okay? And I have to know that about every different location. How many Apple stores are there? How many different cities? How many different countries? Hard decisions to make, right? You need to know a lot to be able to make an accurate choice, okay?